Mr. Patrick Tay.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise in support of this year's budget. If you ask me how I would describe this year's budget, I say it is a budget with its feet on the ground, hand on heart, and eyes to the future. Feet on the ground because we ground ourselves on solid footing and fundamentals. We ensure our businesses and enterprises do well so that our workers benefit through better jobs and pay and stay employed and employable. Hand on heart because of it having the courage to confront the difficult fiscal challenges, share the fruits, and to ensure no one is left behind. Eyes to the future because of the clarity of focus to build our country, the curiosity to test new ideas and innovations, and the conviction to stay the course and prepare for the future. I'm worried for a group of workers, what my fellow Labour MP, Senior Minister of State Heng Chee How mentioned earlier, as a double middle group. They are our professionals, managers and executives, PMEs for short, or what we often call the sandwich class. Why am I worried? The latest labour market report as well as the labour market trends do not augur well for them. 70% of those laid off in 2016 and 2017 were PMETs. The trend is that the more degrees you have and the older you are, the more difficult for you to find employment after you have been laid off, are terminated from, or leave your employment. Structural unemployment, underemployment, and unemployment are three challenges which confront our workers in Singapore, especially PMEs. The 3 Ds of digitalization, disruption, and demographics will transform or make redundant traditional jobs while creating new specialized jobs. In the new normal, skills acquisition will have to increase in frequency while working people will progressively experience more transitions in their employment life cycles. A working person may be in a multinational corporation today, a small and medium enterprise tomorrow, and possibly opt to freelance in the near future. The future of work, workers, and workplaces will transform. In the labour movement, we value every worker, and we are therefore concerned about employment and the employability of all, especially the PMEs. First, jobs at risk. Are there jobs at risk? During our labour movement's recent Future Jobs, Skills and Training Forum last month, Citibank shared that 4 years ago, they set up their first smart banking branch and started eliminating jobs. There was no longer a need for bank tellers, greeters, cash officers, and service bankers in the branches. In their place were 130 multi-skilled universal service bankers. Job roles requiring a single skill were eliminated. The new job role consolidated adjacent skills and role requirements into one role. In 2 years' time, the universal service banker's role will also evolve and may also not exist as more digitization and digitalization is adopted. Sales jobs have also been impacted as people prefer to procure services via the internet or through mobile apps. For example, chatbots are likely to eliminate telephone marketing and support jobs as people prefer not to wait to talk to a person when they have a query. They want to have their query and keyed in online and then receive an immediate response in their digital environment of choice, example in Facebook. In the accountancy sector, the traditional maker and checker roles to assess compliance in assurance, audit and tax will be transformed. With adoption of technology, the process of consolidating and making sense of information will be made easier. Employees will need to possess broader skills in areas of understanding technology. An example is a tax technologist who must also understand fraud detection systems. The audit role has a shift to one which helps the client to manage the risk and compliance issues of the business. If it is of any relief, many jobs will continue to require uniquely human skills that artificial intelligence and machines cannot replicate, such as creativity, collaboration, abstract and systems thinking, complex communication, and the ability to work in diverse environments. The companies that fare best in this new disruptive era will be those that embrace these changes rapidly and effectively. Put simply, new jobs and economic growth will accrue to those that embrace the technology, not those that resist it. Second, skills at risk. Are there skills at risk? Risk of becoming obsolete? Risk at not becoming acquired fast enough? My short answer is yes. The half-life of skills is about 5 years. We need to not just skill our workers to be great at their jobs today, but also skilled so as to be prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. Our working people typically take about 15 years to prepare themselves for their first job, with the expectation to progress to more challenging and better paying jobs thereafter. Paradoxically, people generally spend less time and effort to prepare and upskill themselves for their next job. Given the time pressures, financial and family commitments, it would not be practical to set aside another 15 years to upskill working people for their next job. The adult learning model thus has to be reworked to enable working people to upskill and remain marketable and relevant and enhance their opportunities for career progression. We need to retool at a faster rate. That is why in NTUC we are reworking the entire adult learning model. We want to develop modules which are bite-sized and just in time for continuous learning. The speed of demand for new skills is faster than the speed of supply of new skills. For every company which has lost out in the digital race, such as Kodak and Borders, there are new companies which are flourishing, such as Carousel and Airbnb. There is a need to make available bite-sized and just-in-time training so that our working people can keep abreast of the latest developments in their work domains. For example, a cybersecurity practitioner needs to keep up with the latest cybersecurity threats, and such training should be delivered within 24 hours through bite-sized 2 to 3 minute updates on the go. In the same manner, a safety professional in the construction industry will need to keep abreast of industrial accidents so that they can learn quickly from them and apply the learning at their workplaces. This is a challenge that the world is facing, and if Singapore gets this right, our workers can be one step ahead. The traditional modes of curriculum development in institutes of higher learning is a long one. IHLs have to take time to figure out the market demand, design a curriculum, and mobilize workers to be trained. To shorten the development phase, the way forward is to work with companies to design bespoke training to be conducted in company to upskill their workers. This can shorten the development phase of training substantially, as the company knows what skills it wants its workers to be trained in and can mobilize the workers to take up the training. The need to continually upskill applies to both employees and freelancers. All working people should take personal responsibility to prepare and upskill in relevant areas for future jobs. It is imperative that freelancers take on the responsibility to keep their skill sets relevant too. Increasingly, it is not just a question of encouraging people to learn new skills, but of finding new ways to help them acquire the skills they will need. The biggest challenges involve the creation of ways to help people learn new skills, and then rethinking how the labor market operates to enable employers and employees to move in more agile ways to fill up new positions. We have $500 Skills Future credit for individuals to encourage individual-initiated training. Why not tweak the employer-supported training funding formula by giving the employers a similar Skills Future credit for them to send their workers for training and skills upgrading? In this respect, I have 3 suggestions of what employers and employees need to do. I call it the 3 Cs: change mindsets, communicate, and collaborate. Mindset change is crucial. Employers' mindsets have to change. Employers tend to fear that the benefits of investing in training are lost when employees leave. It is a valid, albeit myopic concern. Instead of viewing training as a short-term cost, employee development should be regarded as a long-term investment that allows staff to add value to their roles and take up expanded job scopes. The better employees become at their jobs, the easier it is for organizations to attain the level of productivity projected. Employers, when hiring, need to do skills-based interviews to assess skills, experiences, and fit with organizations' culture and values, and not just look at paper qualifications and age. Be open to hiring mature and older workers. Our labour movement's recent research revealed that employers prefer to hire skilled, trained and experienced staff instead of training their existing staff for these new jobs, or hiring someone untrained and train him up. In short, they want plug-and-play employees. We have a tight labour market and an ageing workforce. Employers will find it tough to find the perfect match. I therefore urge employers to change their mindsets on plug-and-play and adopt a hire-then-train approach. Best of all, retrain, upskill and multi-skill their existing workers so that they too can take on these new roles. We have started this in the financial sector with the 3 local banks embarking on training more than 1,000 of their local workers through the in-house professional conversion program as part of the industry transformation and tripartite efforts of the financial sector. Lastly, the responsibility for skills development and acquisition does not reside solely with the employer nor the government. Individuals must have a learning mindset in the course of their careers so as to remain able, agile, and adaptable. We need to bring people together, sector by sector, to collaborate, transform our companies, and then take proactive and concrete steps to train, reskill, and upskill employees to match with the in-demand skills and competencies. Besides our tripartite partners, the labour movement has started working with industry partners, training providers, and institutes of higher learning. For example, the labour movement's multi-union, multi-U associate alliance to uplift standards and improve the employability of workers in the OPEC industries by uplifting standards of process technicians and engineers. By doing so, this will create accreditation of the process technicians' trade and raise the standards while boosting transferability of their skill sets. The labour movement is also partnering the Institute of Engineers Singapore to raise engineering and technical competencies in the profession. The 23 industry transformation maps are developed by the sector, but they are merely blueprints. More importantly, the industry transformation maps must be operationalized to benefit the worker on the ground, and stakeholders must join hands to make this happen. In this rapidly changing landscape, transformation is critical and requires strong partnership between unions, our working people, enterprises, education and training providers, professional guilds, and the government to enable meaningful and mutually reinforcing transformation for the benefit of all stakeholders in our economy. In engagements with various stakeholders, we found that one of the underlying factors impeding future skilling and job mismatches was information asymmetry. It is important to align all stakeholders and identify what the future jobs are and skills are and communicate effectively to all. Besides just looking at job losses and gains, concerted action needs to be taken to identify jobs at risk of displacement. This is what I urge every sector and every company to do proactively and preemptively identify the jobs at risk in their organizations and help their employees, our working people, to stay ready, relevant, and resilient. Ready with the new skills, relevant for the new jobs, and also resilient to the new changes. Our workforce has to be able and equipped with the skills to take on these new jobs, agile to move across sectors, and adaptable to change. This reminds me of the wallet ninja. I have it here. It is a multi-purpose pocket multi-tool. It reminds me of the importance of multi-skilling and making our skills work for us in a variety of scenarios and conditions as and when the situation and need arises. It is also made of 4 times treated steel to remind us to steel ourselves for changes ahead. In conclusion, we have a budget which values every worker, but done by keeping our feet on the ground, staying ready, relevant, and resilient, putting our hand on heart, and communicating the jobs at risk and skills at risk, focusing our eyes on the future by helping the unemployed land into future jobs. We can never change the direction of the wind, but we can adjust our sails to always reach the destination. Before I end my speech, I wanted to respond to what Honourable Member Associate Professor Daniel Goh spoke on earlier. He spoke about the future of women, plight of nurses, caregivers, and seniors. He suggested we spend more and more to help them. I was Executive Secretary and Advisor of the Healthcare Service Union since 2006, more than a decade ago. In fact, for the past decade, the union has been collectively bargaining on behalf of all healthcare workers, whether they are workers in the nursing as well as in the non-nursing areas in our various healthcare clusters. We have reviewed salary scales on several occasions. In fact, had many heated negotiations and collective bargaining with our employers, and have done a lot of work to raise wages as well as salaries, as well as improving career conditions and career progression for healthcare workers, both nursing and non-nursing. In fact, we have set up a tripartite committee and have been looking at this issue for the past decade, working very closely with the employers, the major employers, including Ministry of Health, in particular looking at how we can upskill and raise the career prospects to attract more into this sector where we are in need of workers. In fact, their collective agreements are publicly available documents which you can refer to, and we have since negotiated increases in salary scales and have made good progress in terms of annual increments and bonuses. So in fact, it's not right to say that their futures and their careers have not been looked after or have been neglected. In fact, since a decade ago, from job redesign, then to a one race to the top, and then now to the industry transformation maps, we have been working very closely with the tripartite partners, and we have made significant headway. In fact, if you speak to any healthcare worker in our public healthcare institutions, they can share with you some of the initiatives and programs that we have done and embarked very tenaciously on. In fact, in Singapore, more than 2 decades ago, we have adopted, from a tripartite level, a very flexible wage system and a competency-based hiring and progression structure and framework. And therefore, I'm surprised to hear that, with these structures and systems in place, that some people are shortchanged. But I think this is a journey. Yes, maybe perhaps there's maybe some form of discrimination here and there in small pockets. Yes, we do encounter some of them, but I think it's important to work together as a tripartite partners and also in all fronts to make sure that not just pay, wages, but also their interests are not just fair and responsible, but also progressive. And in fact, I want to express a bit of my concern over Associate Professor Goh's suggestions, various suggestions to raise wages, civil support, healthcare spending, and he has made many suggestions on increasing our country's spending, but did not really talk about where the money should come from and whether it will be sustainable. I think that's something that's very important, that it must be sustainable. In fact, it's this very reason that we want to ensure our healthcare workers are looked after and our healthcare costs are managed, that we have this year's budget. In fact, we are concerned that we don't want whether young or old, male or female, is left behind. So in fact, this budget 2018 is very imperative in fact, the focus is to help each and every one of our Singaporeans navigate the path and be future ready and in fact, build our resources and stay focused. And on that note, I support Budget 2018.